Hello, everyone. You're all very welcome to Underground Cinema. As everyone knows, we're only weeks away from the 15th Underground Cinema Film Awards. And what we're doing at the moment is probably the impossible. We're trying to interview as many filmmakers, directors, actors, crews we possibly humanly can before the big night, before the award ceremony takes place. It's been great so far, and I'm delighted to say this morning with me, I've got Ciarán Hickey. Good morning, Ciarán. How are you?
Hey Dave, how's the form? Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, great, absolutely great. So listen, we're you sent into us there a couple of months back a fantastic short film, and listen to this. This film has been nominated for 6 awards. So it's a film called Callus. It's been nominated for Best Short Film, Best Director for yourself, Best Supporting Actor for John Quinn, Supporting Actress for Clare J. Loy, and Best Sound Design for Rob Flynn. Also, and we'll chat a little bit more about this later, we have a first award, AD award nominee for Jack O'Higgins, and we'll come back to that. But you must be delighted with the nods for 6.
Yeah, no, it was. I think we were kind of blown away a little bit, of course. I mean, we've been very lucky to be a part of the Underground Cinema Film Festival in the past. I think my last show I had in there was Terrible Things back in 2022.
That's right.
So I mean, it's a bit of an institution for us at this stage. So it was incredible to kind of see us up there with friends of ours as well, like with TJ with Room Taken, and then also Daniel with Beyond Fessa, and everybody up there. So it's great to be considered alongside such fantastic filmmakers and across such a range of categories. So thank you so much for thinking that we're worthy of that.
Absolutely, it certainly is, and it's going to be tough, really, because I don't know which way this is going to go. I think I might have mentioned this before. We have an international panel that look at these films, and they come back to us with their decisions. And the only time that we sort of step in is when they can't reach a decision. So I think it's absolutely fantastic that a panel who has no idea who Ciarán Hickey is, or who TJ is, or who Alan Dunn is, are actually, have made these selections. So I think that's a fantastic achievement. It's great. And let me just tell you something. I've done loads of interviews this week, but I haven't actually mentioned this one at all, and it's worth mentioning. Applications on Film Freeway. Okay, so Film Freeway is an invaluable tool for you and for me. Certainly for me, when I'm working with a panel that's international, the panel behind the scenes can see, they could see all the films, they can read the director statements, they can check the biographies, and they can come back to me with their comments and remarks, which is fantastic. So it's an invaluable tool for me. What also is a big tool for me, but the other thing about Film Freeway, which is so good, is the presentation of the project, the film. So the films are submitted via Film Freeway to Underground Cinema. We go through them all one by one. And what can catch your eye sometimes, because you get so many entries, you can get hundreds of entries, but what can catch your eye quite quickly is a really good poster, and followed by a statement and a lot of information about the film. And it certainly caught my eye straight away, because the artwork for the poster for the film is superb, and it just caught my eye. And when people put that amount of work into, and thought into a poster, there's one thing I hate, Ciarán, is a screenshot of the film with a text just copied and pasted on the image that's been submitted to us. It doesn't mean that the film isn't a great film, but it's sort of I don't remember it. But I do remember posters, and I certainly remember your one. The artwork is superb in it. Who did that poster?
That was me.
Did you? That's super.
Yeah,
it's absolutely super. It's one of the best I saw this year.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was delighted with it, actually. I went through a few kind of variations, but ultimately kind of landed on that. I wanted something that kind of had all the cast on it, all the core players, and of course the central team of, obviously the knife going down the center. So yeah, I like to do a lot of that stuff myself. Sometimes kind of break away, just to get a kind of outside touch. But with Callus, I was more than happy to kind of dive in.
Yeah, we don't have an award for best poster, Ciarán, but if we did, that was the one for me. It was superb, really catchy, and it caught my eye straight away. So let's move on. Tell us a little bit about Callus. If you maybe give us an idea of what the storyline is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Callus is a folk horror drama funded by Screen Ireland under the Focus Short scheme, and it follows a widowed father who struggles against the violent superstitions of his isolated rural community when his own daughter is born with an affliction warned of in a local Celtic legend.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got an incredible cast, a really strong cast, and so much so that both of your supporting actors there have been nominated for an award for the performances in the film. Can you tell us a little bit about the casting process as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first person we cast was Grania Good in the role of Enid, and that was more so we just really wanted to kind of get ahead of the game on that because, of course, her role was going to involve a bit of prosthetics work, and that would need to be kind of built around her. Um, to be honest, and I this is something I'm just delighted about with the short overall. It's like we got our first round picks for pretty much everyone. Um, which, when you're kind of going into busy season, which is kind of, February, March onwards, for filming, like it's always a bit of a, you're kind of worried that maybe things aren't going to click or schedules are going to collide. But yeah, we would like to get Grania's Enid going forward. And then I think the next person, well, I mean, actually, probably the first person that was cast was Clare J. Loy. Primarily because I just want to try and work with Claire as much as possible. I think she's just that fantastic. She would have worked with me first on Terrible Things back a few years ago,
Yeah,
and since then, it's just been an incredible woman. So it's great to see her get a well-deserved nomination, supporting actor. And then kind of rounding it off, Michael Patrick, I kind of hadn't come across until I sat down and watched Colin Quinn. And he just kind of came up when I was kind of going through headshots and showreels and things like that. And I was looking at him kind of thinking, I haven't come across this guy before. Like, what's the story there? So he kind of fit the bill for us in many ways. And then kind of just sat down, had a conversation with him. And I mean, he's a close friend now. Like, it's just, something clicked for us. It's just, we got on very well. And he has a very kind of understated, stoic mannerism to him that he really brought the Fergus, Enid's father, within the film. And he was just an absolute delight to collaborate with. And of course, he brings a lot of great experience with him as well, having worked on such big shows as Frontier with Jason Momoa. He would have been in the Warcraft movie. I think he was in A Dog's Journey. Like he's been in the industry, like, a great degree of time. He would have been working over in Canada. So he kind of came back recently. And I think he just fell into Colin Quinn straight away. And of course, I was meeting him for a coffee before he was going off to kind of sort out stuff with the Oscars. So it was an interesting time. And then, of course, you come round to John Quinn, or Banjo, as he likes to be named. And I'd seen John. I still work in RT as production assistant, but I'd done 4-year stint over in Fair City, and he had a small role for a number of weeks in there as kind of an argumentative kind of villain style character. And I just was so taken with his mannerisms and his style and just his ability, to be honest. So he always stuck in the back of my head. And when we were kind of casting this, I turned around to producer Finbar Crotty and said, right, John Quinn, we need to approach him. We need to get him in. I don't even need to see a show reel. I just need to know if he's interested. So yeah, that was kind of our 4 key players. And then rounding off the cast, we had Ingrid Craggy as well, who I'm a huge fan of from all of her work, but primarily her appearance in Kate Dolan's fantastic You Are Not My Mother. So when we were kind of looking to cast for the character of Midwife O'Loughlin within the film, she was just front and center. It's a small role. I'd love to kind of do something larger with her and kind of like really give her something to dive into. The same with Charlotte McCurry, who has a very minor role as Fergus's wife and Enid's much put upon mother, Sheida. So again, I'd love to bring these characters back and do so, if not a Callus feature, then something an original story, just kind of giving them something meatier to kind of play with. But we were blessed. And then of course Seamus Moran as well appears in quite a small role at the end. Likewise, such a gentleman. I'd love to do something a bit meatier with him.
Yeah, Seamus is fantastic. Seamus used to be down in the Underground Cinema quite a lot back in the day when we were screening live in the Kingston Hotel when we first started. So he was a great supporter. He's been a great supporter over the years, as is a lot of the Fair City cast. They've been down with us over the years, and some of the cast have picked up a Best Actor award over the years. And I was
Yeah,
just, I
they're
was trying. Yeah, they're great, and I was just thinking a lot about the film. About the film sort of explores the clash between personal morality and societal expectations. That's what I was getting from it, and it's done so well by all your team. Am I reading it right? Is that one of the one of the one of
100%.
the
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah, it kind of originally, I mean, way back when with the original pitch, and it did change a little bit since that, but the original pitch was kind of around the dark side of belief. I mean, if you look at all these stories of the Magdalene laundries and the dark history surrounding that, like it really is kind of it starts with the parents sending their child to this, dark and foreboding institution away from them, and the story kind of came away from like, it came away with this kind of larger, grandiose concept of man versus God in terms of morals. Like you look at the Bible, and there's these stories of Abraham being asked to kill his son to prove his commitment to God, and you're kind of just if you take a step back from that, you go, oh, that's kind of problematic. So it was
Yeah,
kind of looking at that, and the story, while it originally was quite dark, in conversation with Screen Ireland, we kind of moved the opposite direction. We said, well, why can't the parent actually, in this instance, stand up for their child? This innocent who is just a figure of circumstance rather than anybody who's done anything wrong whatsoever, than just this picture of perfection in many ways. And that was kind of our guiding force. And you can look at it's a world of grays as well. Like the way the community kind of lean towards the end of the movie and the actions that they kind of take. You can see where they're coming from, but at the end day, like it is a morally reprehensible area if you look at it from either side of what character you're kind of leaning more towards. So yeah, 100%, it really is all about kind of that kind of moral grey standing.
yeah, and there's you've got this sense of Irish folklore, Celtic traditions being right the way through it. Rural Ireland in particular, I mean, I've moved to a rural county as well, and funny, a number of films explore rural communities at the moment, in good ways and in bad ways as well. But whereabouts did you do it, Ciarán?
Where did we film it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea was to kind of keep as close to Dublin as possible, unfortunately, just for budgetary constraints. But where we
Okay.
ended up filming it was primarily out in Wicklow in Tinnahealy. So we worked with an absolutely wonderful woman and her son, Violet and Stephen. Big shout out to them, who very graciously gave us their home and surrounding land to kind of film the bulk of the movie. So much of the kind of the Fergus / Enid homestead is there. The farmland that we see, we did 2 or 3 days up there, and then we moved down to kind of the Clare Mead areas. That would have been kind of like the pub scenes. So we would have filmed in the Sinking Pub, Roaches, out in Donaghadee, which was an absolute wonderful, very busy and hectic day, which our first AD, Jacko Higgins, can attest to. And then we actually moved to another location up the road in Meath, not too far from myself, actually, here in Maynooth. That was called Fagan's. And that actually, again, another call back to Colin Q, and that would have been a pub that was featured in that film as well. And we used that for the exteriors of the pub sequences. So yeah, we were all around the place, to be honest. But we tried to keep it within traveling distance of Dublin, just to kind of accommodate cast and crew and to cut down on accommodation costs. I think personally, the dream would have certainly been to kind of, venture in a bit further Midlands to kind of, really get that authenticity. But to be honest, going up towards the likes of Wicklow and Tinnahealy for the exteriors up there, like there are a lot of it's a beautiful, stunning area, but like there's quite a surprising amount of like houses in disrepair, abandoned locations. So it really kind of fit the bill for what we really wanted. So it was really all there on our doorstep.
Yeah, Tinnahealy must be the new location for a shooting independent film, because yesterday I was talking to Alan Dunn, and his film Where It All Began was shot in Tinnahealy.
No way.
Until there, funny enough, but Alan and I were talking about it yesterday. The importance of community when it comes to shooting, to shooting low budget films. you're relying on their hospitality. And I remember Alan telling me yesterday, the people at Tinhealy couldn't have been more helpful, because he needed a graveyard to shoot the film in. He needed lots of extras. They were all there to help and support. And that's really important, isn't it, Ciarán, when a community gets together? Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, there's a great story I'll tell you from our first day of we were doing a day zero is what we called it, where we kind of went out and did like a jib shot and got some drone material, but it wasn't a full crew day. It was kind of skeleton crew, but we were on location up in Tinhealy at Violet's house. And we needed a tractor for a scene, just something that we wanted to put at the end of the movie. And Violet said, "Oh, well, my neighbor is an active farmer, has a number of tractors if you want to go up and talk to him." And again, kind of going back to this concept of community, we just walked over and had a chat with him, and he was like, "Yeah, you just tell me what time tomorrow you need my son to drive over the tractor, and we'll do exactly what you need." And we said, "Well, thank you very much." But as we're talking to him, we hear this kind of wailing in the background, and he kind of turns around, he turns back to us and goes, "Do you want to see the miracle of life, lads?" And we were like, "What?" So me and the producer Finbar are walking around the corner, and he's in the process of birthing a calf. So he kind of has us stand up right beside him, and he gets the jaws of life or whatever, and kind of takes out the calf. And yeah, I think producer Finbar Crotty was unfortunately slightly traumatized, but I thought it was gas altogether. But
Fantastic.
it was an interesting way to start off the whole filming thing.
You mentioned you had the support of Screen Ireland, which was really important. I mean, do you think? I'm sure you would have been able to do the film because there's a passion for the film, and even if you were turned down for funding, the film would have been made. I've no doubt about that. But the importance of that funding can't be overstated, Ciarán. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And even beyond the funding, I have to say, like, it was my first time directly working with Screen Ireland, but I have to say they're just incredibly supportive. Like, just and like even their creative insight and notes, like that's where its weight in gold as well. I mean, any kind of interaction we had with the likes of Emma Scott and Jill McGregor and everybody over there, like, it was just incredibly supportive, consistently saying, "Look, we can only put in our 2 cents. This is your movie at the end of the day." Just to be given that freedom, at this stage of the career, like, it's as you say, it cannot be overstated. But yeah, 100%. Like, we developed the script for the budget in full. So I mean, to be kind of given to be given it full stop was kind of the linchpin and everything in making it kind of happen and making sure everybody was happy and looked after on set, and that everything looked as good as it feasibly could. So yeah, we were absolutely blessed.
Yeah. So when people think Screen Ireland, a lot of people just think about the money, but it's not. It's like what you said there. It's not just about the money. There's years of experience behind this. So they are there to give advice and to point you in the right direction. And at the end of the day, they just want to see a really polished product on the screen as well. That's what they're there for, is to help you guys, put the best possible film together on screen. And it's worked because this, like I was just having a look at your, obviously you had a festival plan after the film, and I mean, this film has been absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, it's had a pretty incredible run so far. I mean, we're kind of in the tail end of it now. But I mean, I think the big one for us was Sitges last year. So that would have been like top of our list to kind of get. And I remember, like, when the email kind of came in saying, "Yeah, Callus is one of 18 short films in the world selected for this year," we were like, "I can't believe this. This is madness." Um, but I mean, at the same time, like, it's been a lot of places, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of other filmmakers sadly will relate to this as well. It is about 80+% rejection. So
Yeah.
for all the yeses and all the laurels that you might be seeing on social media and stuff, like, I think, from the outside looking in, it can kind of seem all roses, but yeah, there's a lot of no's, and there's a lot of kind of pushback, often from festivals that you kind of think maybe you're, you know, you know, wrongly thinking that you're a bit of a surefire win for, and then surprisingly others that you kind of think are a little bit beyond your reach come back and say, "Yeah, absolutely." So it's, there's a rhyme and reason to it. I'll never truly understand, but I think that's kind of part and parcel of the magic, and then also the struggle of the industry as a whole. But yeah, we've been amazed and very, very lucky to kind of have the run that we've had.
Yeah, it's an expensive part of the process as well. I mean, everything is expensive in filmmaking. But it's another, it's another cost element as well. When you think about festival entries, when anything from $20 or €20 up to €100, $100, can be really pretty expensive. Now at Underground Cinema, we have a great team. I have to say, we have a great team. We watch everything from start to finish. We watch right to the very end, to the dot, because you know why? Because we're so nosy. We want to know absolutely everything about the film. Who was in the film? Who did the cinematography? And who did the sound? Right down to who was sweeping up the floor. We need to know. But when you're applying for a lot of film festivals, and I'm talking about around the world, I'm not talking about just in Ireland. Do you ever get the sense that they're just sort of scanning through them? That they're not being watched in full, and and it's unfortunate, because film festivals like ourselves and a lot of great ones in Ireland that really do put in an awful lot of work. When you do go onto Film Freeway, there's so many of them there that in some cases, when you read some of the reviews, it's a bit of a money-making racket.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, you get a lot of ones. I don't know if you found this yourself, from the festival direction side of things, but I mean, yeah, we get a lot of unsolicited emails and quite persistent emails from some, festivals in their first or second year, and you kind of look at them and pretty quickly if they're just kind of looking for your funds, basically. But thankfully, the majority of the time they do seem to be quite genuine and kind of just interested. But yeah, there is a bit of a scamish element. I have a very unpopular opinion about kind of some of the larger festivals in the world that kind of charge exorbitant um,
Yeah,
fees. Like I'm not going to name any, but there are some of the biggest festivals in the world that people outside of the industry would know the names of, and they could charge anywhere from like 80 to 100 quid for a submission, and you're kind of thinking why? Because I mean, look at all the sponsors you have. I mean, some of you accept less than 1% of submissions that go into you. So yeah, there are some times where like it can seem like a bit of a money racket. I mean, thankfully, I think in Ireland, at least, it doesn't seem to be that way. I think it's a small community and everybody seems to talk to each other. But there's just a genuine appreciation for people who are involved in the craft as well. So, like you say, watching the film from start to finish, giving it its due, which is such a festival organizers and festival teams, they're such unsung heroes in the grand scheme, because the amount of time and effort that must go into this, particularly if you're an international festival that takes in films from abroad, films that might not even be in your native language. And just beyond even the organization, the actual time and effort that it takes to kind of like collate entries and to kind of sit down and watch them. So kudos to you guys, and kudos to anybody in Ireland and beyond who actually, takes the time to kind of organize it, because, festivals are where filmmakers like myself, that's where we get our standing. That's where we can kind of, keep our heads above water and have people out there kind of see and understand and know about us.
yeah. One of the good things that happened during COVID was Grania Humphreys from the Dublin International Film Festival came up with the idea to start meeting online, film festival directors online. Originally, the idea behind the meetings was to actually talk about the online experience. So, film festivals that during COVID had to more or less shut down with live screenings. Now, we are already at Underground Cinema have been dabbling in online screenings. So we were able to speak about our experience about how we can actually showcase independent films online. We at Underground Cinema were pleasantly surprised that we were able to reach a huge audience by reverting to screening online. So that's the monthly screenings that we do. So all of a sudden, we go from screening to a domestic market to an international market, and we'd already built up a big database of filmmakers from around the world. So we were able to tap into that and start bringing them online to view these films, and it's gone through the roof. And a lot of the film festivals, when it was Grania's initiative, when we were meeting during COVID online, we were able to pass on tips and tricks on how best to approach online screenings. But those meetings are still ongoing. What she's done is she's not only got these meetings still going for the Irish Film Festival directors and programmers, she's now got international film festival programmers and directors on board as well. And it could be something as simple as giving them a talk on best practice on how we should be looking after our filmmakers, the choice process. Every couple of weeks, Grania comes up with a new idea and a new guest speaker on how to run a really, really good film festival. I think it's fantastic. So there's great collaboration, especially in Ireland, going on behind the scenes to ensure that the film festivals that you're submitting your work to are top-notch festivals. I don't believe any festival in Ireland is below standard at the moment. I think they're all great, big or small.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, totally agree. Like, I mean, the support that comes from each and every one that's been kind of nationally based has been just fantastic, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just quickly touch base on the actual show. Just go back to the shoot again. The cinematography is superb in this film. It's the sound design and the cinematography is incredible. Is that Albert Fernandez was your cinematographer?
It is indeed. Albert Fernandez, again, a first choice pick. The second I finished not the first draft, but the draft that I was happy for people to actually look at. I think I sent it to her at like 1 a.m. or something crazy. I was just like, Alba, have a look at that. And then straight away just asked her, right, if you're happy with that, do you want to be attached as DOP? And the rest is history.
It's absolutely fantastic. The lighting in the film is really, really good. I mean, you were talking earlier on, you would have liked to shot it in the Midlands. It's quite dark, so the only really shot in the film that you'd recognise that is in the country is probably the last shot in the field.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't really have to go too far to shoot this, but it's been lit so well. And shot so well. The shadows on the faces are great. She certainly captured the pub. The pub scenes are really, really top notch.
Yeah, no, it's like her and her whole team. Like, so we had Alba Fernandez, the cinematographer, and then we had Andre Packer on lighting, and then of course Alba brought her own team with her. Andre had his own kind of few heads working with him as well. And yeah, so it was great. Like, I mean, the incredible thing about Alba as well is that she is, in many ways, shapes, and forms, she's a director herself. So, you can always trust her with your actors. You can always trust her to kind of like challenge you over something that maybe you might have missed. If maybe the line is going off kilter, or you're not getting the coverage on something, she'll be the first there to tell you. It's kind of like, oh, have you thought about this? Do you want to try it this way? And as a director who's kind of in the thick of it and thinking about 101 million things in the moment and trying to kind of give the actors time, like, it's great to have somebody who's so clued in. And then also that's without actually bringing into conversation her natural ability. Her eye for things is fantastic. So yeah, she really was kind of the first choice for this. And I think she just I'm just so excited to see kind of where she goes. I mean, I'm in the process of writing feature films now and trying to get those up and running. And again, like, I'm writing scenes kind of thinking, how would Alba maybe go about this? So I mean, again, if you're coming off something like this, you're immediately just thinking she's such a strong talent across the board that I'm just excited to see what I can do with her again. And the same with Andre and the whole kind of camera lighting team. Like, they were just so professional, so on the ball. And again, it kind of just speaks volumes about the crew that are available across Ireland as a nation. Like, everybody's of such a high standard. It's a bit daunting for somebody like myself coming in and going, oh, can we try it this way?
Yeah. I believe it's crucial that the director and the cinematographer have a really good working relationship, because on set it's the cinematographer and the director that are doing the most talking. If you're looking at a set, they're the guys that are doing all the talking, about the various different shots. And I think when you have a relationship like that with your cinematographer, that can offer so many different ideas and suggestions on how the shot should be set up and how it should actually look. And you as a director are willing to take that advice on board. It's fantastic. And that's probably one of the reasons why you have such a really beautiful shot film. It looks amazing on the big screen.
Yeah, I do agree completely. Yeah, I mean, it's a collaborative process. So as a director, I'm always kind of like looking to listen to the crew, like, whether it's the boom operator, whether it's the script supervisor, whether it's the producer, anybody who's kind of just walking in, and just to kind of get that, like, I mean, because this is the thing, if somebody has a better idea than what you've come up with yourself, then you'd be foolish not to take it. Um, Really, my job is to kind of steer the ship, keep everybody happy, keep the vision consistent, and to make sure that what we are getting and what we're devoting our time to is invariably going to work on screen. It's going to work in the edit, and it's going to come together. So, I mean, sometimes you get an incredible comment, you get an incredible option for a shot, but that you can spend half an hour to 40 minutes on getting it, and that it just won't be used in the edit because it just doesn't sync. So, those are some of the heartbreaking things that you need to make a call on set with. Um, you'd like to see that shot, you'd like to have it in your toolkit, but unfortunately, it's probably 90% chance not going to be used. And that kind of did hold true with Callus in many ways, shape, or form. It was a very tight schedule. So, there were a few times Abba came up and kind of said, right, is there any way we could try and get this? We would invest the time and it would work and it would be perfect and it would be better than what I had in mind. And then there were other times where it was the opposite, where like we I just knew straight off the bat that it wouldn't work. And then when you get to the edit, yeah, 100%. Like, it was just the way it was going to sync up with the shot I had planned to go there ahead of time. It just, if we deviated from that at all, it just wouldn't have worked. And it was a comment that came through from editor Ian Burke as well. It was like, oh, thank God you put it on this side. Thank God we had this coverage, things like that. So, and again, that just comes down to myself being so close to the script and kind of continually thinking ahead to the edit. That's always what I do. Look at the monitor, make sure I'm happy with what the team are putting together, make sure the actors are happy. And, if I can get a good instinct kind of saying, right, that's going to look good on the timeline. And as such, that's going to look good on the screen to an audience. You're basically editing it in your head as you go along and you're seeing it be filmed. So
Yeah,
that's always my advice to other directors. Think ahead to the edit.
yeah. Your sound design is superb. Rob Flynn did an excellent job on that as well. You must be really pleased because sound is so important. It's crucial. It's just up there with cinematography. It's so important to get your sound right, and that design is superb. A
Yeah,
well-deserved nod.
he's a long-term collaborator with me. We lived together during college, and just kind of seeing him go from strength to strength has been just a delight. So yeah, he's one of those people that, like, I kind of don't really want to do a film without him. But again, he's just so good now. He's getting hard to kind of book down. So I don't know how that desire going forward is going to be. But yeah, Rob is just a talent, through and through, and just such a gentleman to kind of work with. Like, just such a pleasant character. So yeah, it's just I'm sure his name has cropped up on a lot of stuff this year and in years past, and rightfully
Yeah,
so. He's just fantastic. But yeah, again, we just have a good working relationship, and he's somebody that I trust very deeply in terms of not only his opinion on the project you're working on, but on other projects, on other films that you might see in the cinema or that you're kind of watching on streaming, things like that. He always has a good insight onto stuff. So if Rob says jump, I ask how high, that kind of thing.
yeah. There's so many things I could talk about all day in this film, Kieran, and I want to mention as well the prosthetics. So there is for just to describe to people that don't see this on video, they listen to audio, but there is a scene where we see it's like a claw, isn't it, Kieran, on the daughter of our lead actor, and it's done so well. It sort of reminded me of The Thing. There was an actor. There's a scene in The Thing where an actor has sort of a claw hand, and it's done really well. Who did the prosthetics?
So that would have been a crowd down in Limerick, called Odyssey Studios. I'd seen them advertised of all places on Nationwide, one night a few years ago while eating dinner, and I kind of just made a mental note, like, okay, yeah, if you're ever doing something SFX heavy, get in touch with them. And then, of course, the concept for Callus began to take shape a year or two later, and I just said, right. So they were the first people we kind of contacted to just get a rough quote, to just talk through kind of what might be required to make this happen. And they were just so amazing. Like Mark and Ciarán down there with Odyssey and the whole team, they were just so interested in doing this straight off the bat. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that they kind of like financially cut corners for us and stuff just to make sure that things got done and to such a high quality. And they were just so warm and open. And yeah, I just it's funny writing new material now and kind of just thinking, I'm excited to see what Odyssey think of this, to kind of throw it at them and see what they come up with. So yeah, they did a remarkable job, and it was just a delight kind of every other week driving down to them and kind of seeing the progress, and first meeting Grania and bringing her into the studio and just sitting there talking shop. And yeah, they were just so, from day one, they were super, super excited and invested in the project.
Because this is a really important reveal in the film. It's very, 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 very important, So in the film, it's revealed that the daughter, instead of a hand, is basically, it's like a claw hand, And this is what the village is afraid of. This is what everybody's terrified about. And if you don't get that prosthetic, because it's such a big reveal, if that looks, very fake and plasticky or rubbery, or just doesn't look right, it could actually bring the whole film down, because everything's going so well. So it's such an important prosthetic. So these guys did a great job for you. They pulled it off for you, Ciarán.
Absolutely, and I'd be remiss not to mention as well our makeup artist Vanilla Coffee, and then also her makeup assistant Nick Walsh, who there's a baby prosthetic that appears. There's a baby version of it that briefly appears in the movie, and this guy Nick Walsh, I really kind of have to single him out in this instance, because while Fanula had her hands absolutely full with the main prosthetic, Nick kind of actually went away. We actually didn't have a baby prosthetic going in. We were gonna kind of cheat it in such a way originally, but the idea would be, like, in a perfect world, if we had the budget to accommodate, a large prosthetic and a small prosthetic. But Nick
Yeah,
actually saw the core prosthetic on his first day and said, "Oh yeah, give me an hour or two." And he went away, and with Tipex and uh, earbuds, or not earbuds, yeah, whatever, kind of like, I forget what they're called, but he went off with two or three little things and made this prosthetic entirely
wow.
off his own steam. And when he kind of came around and showed it to me, I actually just couldn't believe what I was looking at. Um, so yeah, it just
And
goes to show, like, grassroots filmmaking. It's yeah, it's something
yeah,
special.
you mentioned there, just sort of you sort of mentioned it offhand there earlier on, that you'd like to do a feature version of it. Yeah,
Yeah, there is a A4 page in my Google Drive that breaks it down and has the whole story kind of plotted out. So it does exist. I mean, there's a deep lore behind, kind of like, nothing in the short happens, just cause. But again, it is a short film, so there's only so much time we can devote to diving into the mythology behind things, and it is all rooted in existent mythology around Ireland, and the sun god Lu, who makes a somewhat appearance in the short, but then also kind of Enid's affliction. It's linked to Pomorians, and which are essentially Irish demons. So yeah, there's a lot that we'd love to explore more, and then also just to give the characters just more room to breathe, which is always a delight to kind of afford, particularly when you have such a good cast. In particular, I'd love to kind of write more for the Enid character, to give Grania room to fly, because she's just so good. So yeah, there is a feature narrative that is there that I'd love to explore, and that perhaps, if we're so lucky, in the next year or two we can explore. So
yeah.
watch this space, I
Uh,
suppose.
there's definitely room for growth. For some really good storylines for all of those, all of your leads and supporting characters. The John Quinn character, John's role, that could be really explored really well. Like, he does it. He's a great monologue in the bar, where
Mm.
he practically explodes in the bar, and he's saying what everybody else in the bar is afraid to say. And I would imagine in the future that role could be superb, really great.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's kind of a bit of a tragic character when you really look at
Yeah,
him from the perspective of the community. I mean, I think the funniest thing about the Ardle character, who John kind of embodies and plays in the short, is that, for like, the first time you see him on screen, in a few screenings I've gone to, people laugh because it's just so kind of like out of nowhere. This very disgruntled man, who's very brash and very blunt, kind of appears. And I love that. I love that people kind of like have this kind of like nervous laugh, or even comical laugh, straight away, because they're like, "Who's this guy? What's going on?" But then the kind of the dark intent comes in, the darkness of that character bleeds in, and you realize exactly who this person is and what's at play and what's happening. And I think that contrast is just something that John does so well. Like he's a really just incredibly talented actor and just such an incredible guy to work with as well. Like just such a nice guy. But yeah, like the feature, just to give you a spoiler, I suppose, like the feature version starts with Ardle, starts with the John character, and gives him a lot. Like he kind of is the driving force, and I love the idea of seeing him struggle with the revelation himself, kind of thinking like that, watching his community kind of deteriorate for what is essentially, within their communal viewpoint, a betrayal. So I think he actually cuts by a certain vision, quite a tragic figure.
Yeah. Look, Ciarán, you have a fantastic film. You well deserve you and your crew thoroughly deserve the 6 nods. You're up there with some fantastic films there this year. It's been a really great a great year for indie shorts. I was thinking as well. I was talking to Alan Dunn, my good friend, yesterday. We were just talking about writing in general and how COVID, and again, this is me turning a negative into a positive. And I was talking to Ben Conway, funny enough, who wrote the screenplay for Simon, and he agreed as well. I think, during COVID, there's been some incredible writing where people had nothing but time on their hands and they were able to sit back and actually get the script right. Sometimes there's a tendency to erase things, especially when you're trying to get something ready for a film festival, a big one. But at that time during COVID, during that 2-year period, people had nothing but time on their hands, and some of the writing and some of the ideas have been fantastic. I think what we're seeing now at Underground Cinema are a lot of COVID films, that are films that have been thought of during that 2-year period of lockdown that we had. And that's why I think this year is going to be so difficult, because the screenplays that we've had, if we have 5 nominees in each category, I could have easily put in 10 nominees for the screenplay award because the scripts were so good this year.
Yeah, it's I've noticed myself, like just the caliber of material that's kind of coming out. It seems to get better every year, like just on the general circuit. Like, I mean, like I think for a lot of people, we might have thought that like COVID would have been a quiet period, but no, it seemed to just kind of go up and up. Like I was one person with a short kind of doing the rounds around that time as well. So, you're kind of seeing what's coming in and what's winning the awards, and yeah, it's incredible. Like, there's nothing somebody with time on their hands can't do in many ways.
Yeah. Well, look, Ciarán, I could talk to you all day. I really enjoyed the conversation that we had this morning. There's me saying let's do 20 minutes. We're into 43 minutes already, but it's been so interesting. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I can't thank you enough for giving me your time this morning to chat about your wonderful film, Callus. And we can't wait to see. Let's hope you get that feature film off the ground.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Dave. This has been fantastic. And again, thank you for the honor. 6 nominations. We're absolutely chuffed with ourselves.
Fantastic. Okay, Ciarán. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Fingers crossed. Cheers, Dave.
Take care.